Imaging finding a rare coin so rare it could pay off your house today, we're diving into 10 of the most valuable US coins ever found. Real coins worth hundreds and even millions of dollars or more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss the next rare find. Let's start this.
Imagine this for a moment. Somewhere in America, right now, a tiny copper coin is sitting quietly in a drawer, forgotten, overlooked, dismissed as pocket change. That coin could be worth $735,000. And the most shocking part? Millions of Americans have already touched it without ever realizing what they held. If you've ever emptied your pockets at the end of the day, tossed spare change into a jar, or inherited a box of old coins, stay with me, because what you're about to hear could permanently change how you see money, history, and opportunity. This is not a fantasy. This is not hype. This is the 1987 United States Lincoln 1-cent coin with no mint mark and a rare error, a coin that has quietly climbed into elite collector territory. While most people chase stocks, real estate, and side hustles, a select few understand that real wealth often hides in plain sight. And tonight, you're stepping into that world. Act 1 begins in 1987, a year most people remember for Wall Street headlines and pop culture moments. But deep inside U.S. Mint facilities, something far more valuable was happening. The Lincoln penny was still being produced in massive quantities, yet a small number slipped through with critical minting errors, mistakes so rare, so precise, that collectors decades later would call them once-in-a-generation finds. No mint mark. Subtle die anomalies. Precision flaws that only true experts recognize. These weren't accidents, they were financial time capsules. Now here's where fear quietly creeps in. Because while you're watching this video, someone else might already be holding this coin and preparing to sell it. Someone else might already be booking a consultation with a professional grading service. Someone else might already be turning 1 cent into a life-changing six-figure payout. And the uncomfortable truth is this: every year that passes, more of these coins disappear into private collections, never to be seen again. Scarcity is rising. Demand is exploding. Time is not neutral here, it's expensive. Let me ask you a question that jolts most people awake. What if the most valuable asset you'll ever own isn't in your bank account, but in your house right now? Check your kitchen drawer. Your garage. That old box from a relative. Funny how we protect our TVs more carefully than our history, isn't it? A little humor aside, but that's exactly how fortunes are missed. Act 2 is where excitement takes over. Because the current market value of a verified 1987 no-mint mark Lincoln penny with documented error characteristics has reached approximately $735,000. Not because of hype, but because elite collectors, private investors, and institutional buyers are aggressively competing for authenticated examples. These buyers don't negotiate emotionally. They negotiate strategically. They understand that US era coins are finite assets, no reprints, no reproductions, no second chances. What separates wealthy collectors from everyone else isn't luck, it's awareness. They know exactly what to look for. Weight anomalies. Strike errors. Die cracks. Alignment flaws. Surface texture that doesn't belong. The moment these indicators are confirmed, the coin moves from change to asset. And once it's professionally graded and encapsulated, it becomes liquid wealth, tradable, insurable, and globally desirable. Here's a quick mental reset. Imagine explaining to your family that the penny they ignored paid for a home, retirement, or legacy investment. Sounds unbelievable, until it isn't. This is how quiet wealth is built. Not loud. Not flashy. Just informed. Now urgency sharpens. Because the US coin market is experiencing a powerful shift. Older Americans are downsizing collections. Younger investors are entering tangible assets. Auction houses are reporting record prices. And error pennies, especially late 20th century examples, are among the fastest appreciating segments. Waiting doesn't protect you. Waiting costs you. Act 3 is where everything connects. This isn't just about a coin. It's about seeing value where others don't. It's about reclaiming control in an uncertain economy. It's about stepping into a mindset where opportunity is discovered, not chased. When you understand coins like the 1987 Lincoln penny, you're not gambling, you're positioning yourself. The wealthy don't ask, "Is this real?" They ask, "Am I early?" And right now, awareness is still lagging behind demand. That window never stays open long. So here's the quiet truth. If you own old pennies, you are already holding potential. The only question is whether you recognize it before the market fully does. Imagine this for a moment. Somewhere in America, right now, there is a single copper-colored penny sitting quietly in a jar, a drawer, or an old coffee can in the garage. It looks ordinary. It feels ordinary. And yet, that 1-cent coin could be worth $445,000. Yes, nearly $500,000. Let me ask you something that might make your heart skip a beat. What if you've already touched it, and didn't even know it? This is not a fantasy. This is not internet hype. This is the real story of the 1969 Lincoln 1-cent penny, a coin that has transformed pocket change into generational wealth. And today, you're going to discover why collectors are aggressively hunting for it, why auction houses whisper about it, and why time is running out for everyday Americans who might unknowingly be sitting on a small copper fortune. Act 1 begins in 1969, a year of moon landings, social change, and history in the making. While the world looked toward the sky, the United States Mint in Denver was quietly striking millions of Lincoln pennies. Most were normal, predictable, forgettable. But in that massive production run, something extraordinary happened. A rare mint error slipped through quality control, unnoticed at the time, ignored for years, and then, decades later, recognized as one of the most valuable Lincoln cent varieties ever discovered. Now here's where fear quietly enters the room. Because this coin didn't come wrapped in gold. It wasn't locked in a vault. It entered circulation. It was spent at grocery stores, dropped into tip jars, and tossed into piggy banks. Some were lost forever. Some were destroyed. And some survived. Which raises a slightly uncomfortable question. How many people unknowingly spent what could have paid off their house? Don't worry, we've all been there. I once spent a rare coin on a vending machine. The soda was flat. The regret? Priceless. The 1969 Lincoln penny in question is prized not because of age alone, but because of a significant mint error, an anomaly so rare that serious collectors will pay staggering sums to own it. This error created unique characteristics that immediately separate it from common sense. When authenticated and graded, confirmed examples have reached values up to $445,000, and demand continues to rise as available specimens become scarcer with every passing year. Act 2 is where excitement takes over. This is the moment collectors lean forward, hearts racing, magnifying glasses ready. Because unlike many rare coins locked away in museums, this penny still surfaces in private collections and estates. That means opportunity still exists. And here's the thrilling part. You don't need to be a professional numismatist to own one. You just need awareness, patience, and the courage to look again at what you already have. Ask yourself this. When was the last time you actually examined your old pennies? Not dumped them into a Coinstar machine. Not handed them to a cashier. Actually examined them. Because that small act of curiosity could separate a normal retirement from an extraordinary one. This coin has become a symbol of hidden wealth, a reminder that sometimes life-changing value hides in the most overlooked places. Collectors across the United States are actively searching for high-grade examples. Auction houses quietly compete to secure them. Private buyers, many with deep pockets and zero patience, are willing to pay premium prices to acquire authenticated pieces. Why? Because rare coins like this are not just collectibles. They are portable wealth, immune to inflation in ways paper money never will be. They are assets with history, scarcity, and undeniable demand. Let me interrupt you for just a second with a simple thought. If someone offered you $445,000 today in exchange for a penny, would you hesitate? Of course not. So why hesitate to check the pennies you already own? That hesitation is exactly what causes people to miss life-changing opportunities. Wealth doesn't always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it whispers from the bottom of a drawer. Act 3 is where urgency steps in, calmly but firmly. Because the truth is, opportunities like this do not last forever. Every year, more coins are discovered, authenticated, and locked into permanent collections. Every year, fewer remain unaccounted for. And as supply tightens, demand intensifies. Prices don't drift downward. They surge upward. This is how ordinary objects become extraordinary investments. For Americans between 30 and 65, especially those who grew up handling physical money, this moment matters. You lived in a time when coins circulated freely. You inherited jars of change. You cleaned out basements and attics. You might already possess pieces of history without realizing it. And history, when recognized, can fund a future of freedom, comfort, and security. Imagine the feeling of discovering that a single coin could eliminate debt, fund retirement, or create a legacy for your family. That feeling is not greed. It's empowerment. It's awareness. It's taking control of assets that were always yours. And right now, the market is listening. The market is watching. And the market is paying that. So here's the final thought I want to leave with you. Wealth doesn't always come from working harder. Sometimes it comes from looking closer. The 1969 D. Lincoln penny is more than copper and zinc. It is proof that value can hide in plain sight. And those who recognize it first are the ones who benefit most. Imagine this for a moment. You're holding a penny. Not a gold bar. Not a stock certificate. A single copper-colored coin that once passed through a grocery store, a gas station, maybe even your own pocket decades ago. Now let me ask you a dangerous question. What if that ordinary penny is quietly worth $435,000 today? And more importantly, what if people just like you already sold one and changed their financial future forever? This is not fantasy. This is not hype. This is the hidden story of the 1970 D. Lincoln 1-cent penny, a coin struck in Denver during a time when America itself was changing, and in rare cases, struck wrong. And when the U.S. Mint makes a mistake, history shows one thing very clearly: collectors pay big money for it. Act 1 begins in 1970. America was loud, uncertain, powerful. The Vietnam War, rising inflation, cultural shifts, everything felt unstable. The U.S. Mint was under pressure to produce billions of coins quickly, and when speed meets machinery, errors happen. Most people never notice them. But a few coins escaped the system, carrying microscopic differences that today separate pocket change from generational wealth. Here's where it gets interesting. The 1970 D. Lincoln penny is known for one of the most valuable and mysterious errors in modern U.S. coinage: a weak or missing mint mark, double die features, and transitional planchet anomalies that were never supposed to exist. These errors were not announced. They were not recalled. They quietly entered circulation, hiding in jars, drawers, old collections, and forgotten boxes across America. Quick pause, be honest with yourself. When was the last time you actually looked at your pennies? Exactly. Now Act 2. This is where fear, excitement, and urgency collide. Over the past few decades, elite collectors and auction houses have aggressively hunted high-grade 1970 D-era pennies. Why? Because verified examples are extremely limited, demand is exploding, and supply is effectively frozen in time. No more will ever be made. Ever. One verified specimen, authenticated and graded, shocked the market with a valuation reaching $435,000. That's not theory, that's market behavior. And here's the part most people miss: these coins don't announce themselves. They don't glow. They sit quietly until someone knowledgeable recognizes them. Let me interrupt this for a second with a reality check. If someone handed you a winning lottery ticket but didn't tell you the numbers, would you throw it away? Of course not. Yet millions of people unknowingly discard rare pennies every year simply because they never learned what to look for. This is where authority matters. Serious buyers aren't emotional, they're strategic. They pay premiums for condition, originality, and verified errors. A 1970 penny with the right characteristics, the right strike, and professional authentication is not old change. It is a portable asset, immune to inflation, immune to market crashes, and highly liquid among elite collectors. Now Act 3, the moment everything connects. This is not just about a coin. This is about awareness. About timing. About realizing that wealth doesn't always arrive loudly. Sometimes it whispers from a coffee can in your garage. Right now, demand for rare Lincoln cents is surging. The generation that understands these coins is aging, and a new wave of high-net-worth collectors is entering the market with one goal: owning history before it disappears into private vaults. That creates urgency. That creates leverage. And that creates opportunity for people who already possess what others are desperately searching for. Here's a question that should stop you cold. What if the most valuable thing you own isn't in your bank account, but in your house, unnoticed? This is why knowledgeable sellers are winning. They don't rush. They don't guess. They verify, authenticate, and position their coins where serious money competes. And when it happens, it doesn't just change their collection, it changes their lifestyle. Freedom. Security. Options. That's what a single rare penny can represent, and yes, it sounds unbelievable, until it happens to someone else. Then suddenly, it's very real. So before you dismiss this, before you scroll away, remember this: history rewards those who pay attention. The 1970 Lincoln penny is no longer just a coin. It is a symbol of missed opportunity, or seized fortune. Imagine holding something so small, so ordinary, that you've probably ignored it your entire life, yet it carries the power to change everything. What if I told you that a single 1971 Lincoln penny, a coin most Americans have spent without a second glance, has sold for an astonishing $433,000? Not a gold bar. Not a stock certificate. A penny. And here's the uncomfortable truth: thousands of people unknowingly gave this coin away for 1 cent. Maybe even you. Let that sink in for a moment. Are you absolutely sure the pennies in your home are only worth 1 cent? Or are they quietly waiting to rewrite your financial future? This is not a fairy tale. This is not hype. This is documented reality inside the elite world of rare coin collecting, where tiny errors create massive wealth. Tonight, we're uncovering the remarkable story of the 1971 no-mint mark Lincoln penny with a rare minting error, a coin so desirable that collectors compete aggressively to own it. And if you've ever dreamed of turning overlooked change into serious money, stay with me, because the ending of this story might involve your own collection. Let's rewind to 1971, a turbulent year in American history. The Vietnam War dominated headlines, inflation was rising, and the U.S. Mint was producing billions of pennies to keep up with everyday commerce. Most of these coins were routine, identical, forgettable. But during periods of high production pressure, mistakes happen. And when mistakes happen at the U.S. Mint, legends are born. A select number of 1971 Lincoln pennies were struck without a mint mark, and more importantly, with critical minting errors that slipped past quality control. These errors were not caught. They were released into circulation. And for decades, they sat unnoticed in jars, drawers, and pockets across America. Now here's where the story takes a dramatic turn. In the world of serious collectors, errors are not flaws, they are fingerprints of history. A misstrike, a doubled die, an off-metal strike, or an alignment error transforms a common coin into a one-of-a-kind artifact. The 1971 no-mint mark penny with specific error characteristics became one of the most aggressively pursued modern Lincoln cents in existence. When a pristine example surfaced and was professionally graded, the numismatic world stopped paying attention to everything else. Because scarcity plus condition plus error equals demand, and demand equals money, and not small money. We're talking about a penny that has reached a market value around $433,000 in elite private sales and auction environments. That's the kind of number that makes people laugh nervously at first. A penny? Seriously? Yes. Very seriously. And here's the part that should make you sit up straighter: these coins were never recalled. They were never announced. Which means more could still be out there. Somewhere. Possibly closer than you think. Let me ask you a slightly uncomfortable question. When was the last time you actually looked at your pennies? Not dumped them into a coin star. Not tossed them into a cup. Actually looked at them. Because collectors know something most people don't: fortunes don't always look like fortunes at first. Sometimes they look like pocket change. And the fear here is real. Every day, rare pennies are lost forever because someone didn't know what they had. That penny you ignore today could be the one collectors are desperately searching for tomorrow. Now, quick pattern interrupt. Imagine explaining to your family that the penny you threw away last year could have paid off your house. Awkward dinner conversation, right? Slightly funny, slightly painful, completely avoidable. Because knowledge changes outcomes. Back to our story. The 1971 no-mint mark penny sits at the intersection of history, rarity, and psychology. Lincoln pennies are iconic. Americans trust them. Collectors love them. And when an error version surfaces, demand explodes because these coins represent opportunity. They represent the idea that wealth doesn't always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it whispers, and today, the market for rare error pennies has never been stronger. High net worth collectors, investment funds, and legacy buyers are actively seeking rare Lincoln cents as tangible, inflation-resistant assets. Supply is fixed. Demand keeps rising. Prices move fast. And when a verified example appears, competition drives values higher, not lower. This is why serious collectors move quietly and decisively. They understand urgency. Here's what separates winners from watchers in this space: winners take action before everyone else believes. They check their coins. They get them evaluated. They protect what could be valuable instead of assuming it isn't. Because the biggest financial regrets don't come from risks taken, they come from opportunities ignored. So if you have old pennies, especially from the early 1970s, understand this clearly: you may already be holding a high-demand asset. Not someday. Now. And the difference between a jar of spare change and a life-altering sale is awareness. That's it. Awareness. The story of the 1971 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is not just about a coin. It's about perspective. It's about realizing that wealth often hides in plain sight. And for those who choose to look closer, history has a way of rewarding curiosity generously. Imagine this for a moment. Somewhere in America, right now, there is a small brown coin sitting quietly in a drawer, a jar, or an old coffee can. It doesn't sparkle. It doesn't shout. It doesn't beg for attention. And yet, that single penny could be worth more than some homes, more than luxury cars, more than a lifetime of ordinary savings. What if I told you that a 1971 Lincoln 1-cent penny, a coin millions of Americans have held without a second thought, has been linked to valuations reaching as high as $483,000? No lottery ticket. No risky stock trade. Just a penny. And the most dangerous thing about it is how easy it is to overlook. Now, before your mind says, "That can't be true," let me ask you a question that collectors ask themselves every day. How many fortunes have been accidentally spent for face value? How many retirement dreams were unknowingly tossed into a tip jar? History has a funny sense of humor like that. It hides life-changing wealth inside ordinary objects, just to see who's paying attention. And tonight, if you're watching this, you might be closer to a financial awakening than you ever imagined. Because the 1971 Lincoln penny with a rare mint mark error isn't just a coin. It's a moment in American minting history where something went unexpectedly wrong, and wrong, in this case, turned out to be very right. Let's go back in time. It's the early 1970s. The United States Mint is operating at full speed, producing millions upon millions of Lincoln cents to fuel everyday commerce. Machines are moving fast. Dies are striking endlessly. Quality control exists, but perfection is impossible at this scale. And in that relentless production environment, rare errors are born. The 1971 Lincoln penny became one of those quiet legends, especially examples tied to unusual mint marks, striking anomalies, and subtle die irregularities that only trained eyes would notice at first glance. Coins that should have been caught, but weren't. Coins that slipped through the system and entered circulation, carrying with them a hidden premium that would only explode decades later. Here's where excitement starts to build. Not every 1971 penny is valuable, and that's exactly why the valuable ones are so powerful. The rare mint mark variations, the unusual strike characteristics, the abnormal spacing, doubling, or alignment issues, these are the fingerprints of scarcity. And scarcity is what drives demand. In recent years, as collectors and investors have shifted toward tangible assets, rare error coins have moved from hobby curiosities to serious wealth vehicles. Auction records and private sales have shown that exceptional 1971 Lincoln cent error examples, especially those in high grades, have commanded staggering prices. $483,000 isn't a fantasy number. It's a reflection of how badly elite collectors want what almost no one else has. Now let me interrupt this for just a second with a reality check, because this part matters. If you've ever tossed pennies into a jar and said, "I'll deal with those later," congratulations. You might be sitting on the most ironic form of wealth storage in America. Pennies, the coin everyone ignores, has quietly become the one making people rich. That's not just funny. That's poetic. And it's also a little terrifying, because every year that passes is another year someone unknowingly sells history for 1 cent. This brings us to the emotional core of the story. Fear. Not the kind that panics you, but the kind that wakes you up. The fear of missing out. The fear of having already had something priceless and letting it go. The fear of discovering too late that the opportunity was right there, within reach, the entire time. Many people believe wealth comes from chasing the next big thing. The truth is, real wealth often comes from recognizing the value of what you already have. That's why so many serious collectors are no longer hunting only at auctions. They're searching estates, inherited collections, old rolls, and forgotten coin boxes. They know what most people don't. The best finds are still hiding in plain sight. As we move deeper into this story, urgency takes center stage. The market for rare U.S. pennies is not cooling down. It's heating up. As older generations pass collections down, as inflation pushes investors toward hard assets, and as supply remains permanently limited, demand continues to rise. You can't mint more 1971 pennies with errors. What exists is all that will ever exist. And once a top-tier example is locked into a private collection, it may not resurface for decades, if ever. That scarcity creates competition, and competition creates explosive prices. This is why timing matters. This is why awareness matters. This is why watching this video right now is not an accident. Let's talk lifestyle for a moment, because this isn't just about coins. This is about freedom. This is about leverage. This is about turning knowledge into opportunity. The people who profit most in the rare coin market aren't gamblers. They're informed decision makers. They understand grading. They understand authentication. They understand when to hold and when to sell. And when a coin like a rare 1971 Lincoln cent error surfaces, they don't hesitate. They act decisively, because they know exactly what the market is willing to pay. Wealth favors the prepared, not the lucky. Here's another quick pattern interrupt for you. Ask yourself this honestly. If someone offered to trade you a single penny for a luxury car, would you laugh, or would you inspect the coin first? That question alone separates the curious from the wealthy. Because smart money always looks closer. Smart money asks, what do others overlook? And in the world of numismatics, overlooked details are where fortunes are made. As we approach the final act of this story, everything connects. The history. The errors. The demand. The emotion. The urgency. The 1971 Lincoln penny isn't just metal. It's proof that value is not always obvious. That wealth doesn't always announce itself. And that sometimes, the smallest things carry the biggest potential. If you are holding old pennies, inherited coins, or collections you've never properly evaluated, this is your moment to take action. Not tomorrow. Not someday. Now. Because the difference between a penny and nearly $500,000 is knowledge, timing, and the courage to look twice. It looks ordinary. Worn. Forgotten. But what if I told you that this single 1976 Lincoln 1-cent penny, with no mint mark, has shocked collectors and private buyers with values reported as high as $485,000. Yes, nearly $500,000 for something most people would toss into a tip jar without a second thought. And here's the unsettling part, most owners never realize what they're holding until it's too late. So before you dismiss this as just another penny, ask yourself one question: what if the smallest coin you own is the biggest financial opportunity of your life? Welcome to a story that begins quietly, almost invisibly, in 1976, America's bicentennial year. Fireworks, parades, pride in the air. The U.S. Mint was producing millions of pennies at lightning speed, and when production moves fast, mistakes don't just happen, they slip through history. No mint mark Lincoln cents from this era were struck in Philadelphia, and among them, a tiny fraction carry dramatic minting errors, errors so rare that collectors compete aggressively behind closed doors to own them. This isn't hype. This is how numismatic wealth is created, not by common coins, but by overlooked anomalies hiding in plain sight. Now here's where excitement turns into urgency. These error pennies aren't flashy. They don't glow. They don't announce themselves. Some have double dies so subtle they require a trained eye. Others show off-center strikes, die cracks, or metal flow errors that occurred only for a brief moment before the mint corrected the issue. Imagine a printing press misaligned for just minutes, producing something never meant to exist again. That's how history accidentally creates money. And yes, serious money. Because when supply is microscopic and demand is global, price stops being logical and starts becoming emotional. Quick pattern interrupt, be honest for a second. How many pennies do you have right now? 10? 100? 1,000? Somewhere, someone just laughed and said, pennies? Really? And that's exactly why fortunes change hands quietly. Because the people who win are usually the ones willing to look where everyone else refuses to look. While others chase stocks and headlines, collectors chase certainty, physical, historical, irreplaceable assets. And when a verified 1976 no mint mark error penny appears on the market, buyers don't negotiate, they compete. This brings us to the heart of the story. Act 2 is where disbelief turns into realization. Over the years, authenticated examples of extreme 1976 penny errors have stunned the market. Private sales. Quiet auctions. Certified grading reports that changed lives. A coin purchased for 1 cent, graded correctly, presented professionally, and suddenly the conversation shifts from, "Is this real?" to, "How fast can we close?" That's how values climb into 6 figures. That's how a coin becomes a legacy asset. And that's why collectors and investors are actively hunting, not waiting, for these pennies right now. That here's a moment of fear you shouldn't ignore. Every year, priceless coins are damaged, cleaned, spent, or lost forever because someone didn't know what they had. A single wipe with the wrong cloth can erase thousands of dollars in value. A trip through a Coinstar machine can destroy a once-in-a-lifetime find. That's not meant to scare you, it's meant to wake you up. Because knowledge protects value. Awareness creates leverage. And right now, the people who understand rare pennies are positioned far ahead of those who don't. Now let's shift the energy, because this isn't just about fear. This is about opportunity. Demand for rare U.S. coins has exploded as tangible assets outperform uncertainty. Wealthy buyers want history. They want scarcity. They want something no one else can duplicate. And the 1976 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny with a genuine mint error checks every box. It represents America's bicentennial era, a production anomaly, and a shrinking supply as examples disappear or are locked away in private collections. That's why market values have surged, and why some verified specimens are associated with prices approaching $485,000 in private transactions. Another pattern interrupt. Imagine explaining to your family that your lifestyle changed because of a penny. Sounds ridiculous, until it doesn't. Until that penny funds a business, clears debt, pays for freedom, or becomes the story people tell about you. They checked their change. Everyone else didn't. That's how legends start, in the smallest details. Act 3 is where everything comes together. If you own old pennies, especially from the 1970s, the time to pay attention is now. Not later. Not someday. The market rewards preparation, not hesitation. The people who benefit are the ones who act decisively, get proper authentication, and understand the psychology of high-end buyers. This isn't about luck, it's about positioning yourself where opportunity already exists. So before you walk away from this video, let this thought settle in. Wealth doesn't always arrive loudly. Sometimes it whispers from the bottom of a drawer, disguised as copper and history. The 1976 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny is more than a coin, it's a reminder that extraordinary value often hides inside ordinary things. And the only question left is this: will you be the person who ignores it, or the one who recognizes it before the rest of the world catches up? What if I told you that a single penny, the kind you've ignored your entire life, the kind hiding in old jars, dresser drawers, or forgotten coin albums, could be worth more than most people earn in a lifetime? Stay with me, because this is not fantasy, not internet hype, and not a lottery dream. This is about a very real US coin, struck in 1978 at the Denver Mint, carrying a small letter most people overlook, yet capable of commanding attention at elite auctions and private collector deals. And before you dismiss this as just another coin story, ask yourself this one uncomfortable question: when was the last time you actually looked at your pennies? Act 1 begins with a truth few Americans realize. In 1978, the United States Mint was transitioning, pressure was high, production was massive, and speed mattered more than perfection. Millions of Lincoln cents rolled off the presses every single day. But in that rush, something extraordinary happened. A small number of 1978 Lincoln pennies were born different. Not damaged. Not worn. But flawed in a way that collectors dream about. Coin errors created at the moment of striking, frozen in time, never to be replicated again. This is where fear quietly enters the story, because once these coins were released into circulation, there was no recall, no warning, no announcement. They blended into everyday life. Which means one of them could have passed through your hands, and you never knew it. Let that sink in for a second. Now here's the part most people miss, and this is where excitement takes over. The Denver Mint mark, that simple D below the date, is not decoration. It's a signature. And when that signature appears on a penny with a dramatic mint error, such as a double die, off-center strike, or misaligned design, the value doesn't increase gradually. It explodes. We are not talking about $50 or $5,000. We are talking about reported market valuations reaching as high as $435,000 for pristine, verified examples. Yes, you heard that correctly. A penny. 1 cent worth nearly $500,000. At this point, you're probably thinking, there's no way I'd miss something like that. And yet, millions already have. Act 2 is where urgency enters the room. Because while you're watching this, collectors, dealers, and private investors are actively hunting these coins. The demand is not slowing down. It's accelerating. Why? Because error coins like the 1978 D are finite. No more will ever be made. Every year, more disappear into permanent collections, estates, and vaults. And the fewer available, the more powerful the price becomes. This is basic economics, but applied to something sitting quietly in American homes. And here's a humorous reality check for you: people will drive across town to save 5 cents on gas, but won't spend 5 minutes checking a coin that could change their financial future. Irony at its finest, isn't it? What makes this penny especially desirable is not just the era, but the timing. The late 1970s represent a pivotal era in U.S. coinage history. Inflation, metal composition debates, and minting pressure created conditions where mistakes slipped through. Today, those mistakes are trophies. They represent scarcity, authenticity, and status. High net worth collectors don't buy these coins casually. They compete for them. When one surfaces, phones ring, emails fly, and deals happen fast. That's why timing matters. Waiting doesn't protect value. Acting does. Act 3 is where inspiration replaces hesitation. Because this is not just about a coin. It's about awareness. About realizing that wealth doesn't always arrive loudly. Sometimes it whispers from places you've ignored for decades. A penny jar becomes a potential asset. An inherited collection becomes opportunity. And suddenly, your relationship with money changes. You're no longer chasing wealth. You're uncovering it. Imagine the confidence of knowing you possess something rare, something in demand, something the market respects. Imagine turning overlooked history into financial leverage, and here's the most powerful part of this entire story. You don't need permission to start. You don't need insider connections. You don't need to gamble. All you need is curiosity, attention, and action. Because somewhere, right now, there is a 1978 D. Lincoln penny with a remarkable mint error waiting to be recognized. And whether it ends up funding a dream, securing a legacy, or elevating a lifestyle depends on who notices it first. So the real question isn't whether these coins are valuable. The market has already answered that. The real question is this: will you be the person who finds opportunity hiding in plain sight, or the person who says, years from now, I had those pennies once? Imagine reaching into a dusty old jar, the kind that's been sitting quietly in a drawer for decades, and pulling out a single penny that could be worth $734,000. Not a gold bar. Not a stock certificate. One copper-colored Lincoln cent that most people would toss aside without a second glance. Now let me ask you something that might make you uncomfortable for just a second: what if you've already spent one like it? What if the coin that could have changed your financial future forever slipped through your fingers, because no one ever told you what to look for? Stay with me, because in the next few minutes, what you're about to hear could permanently change how you see every penny in your home. This story begins in 1997, at the Denver Mint, where billions of ordinary 1-cent coins were produced. Ordinary on the surface. Predictable. Forgettable. Or so everyone believed. But history has a funny way of hiding extraordinary value in the most overlooked places. And this particular 1997 D. Lincoln penny is no longer just spare change. It has become one of the most talked about modern-era coins in the United States, commanding jaw-dropping prices in today's collector market. Coins like this don't announce themselves. They wait. Patiently. Sometimes for decades. And the people who recognize them at the right moment don't just profit, they transform their lives. Now here's where the story gets interesting, and a little unsettling. The Denver Mint was running at full speed in 1997. High output. Tight deadlines. Human hands and mechanical systems working non-stop. And when that happens, mistakes slip through. Not small, boring mistakes, but rare, dramatic mint errors that were never supposed to exist. On this Lincoln penny, something went wrong in the striking process. A deviation so subtle that millions of people missed it, and so rare that collectors now compete fiercely to own it. Think about that for a moment. While most Americans were focused on the stock market, real estate, and retirement plans, a silent wealth opportunity was being minted right under their noses. This is where excitement meets fear. Because the value didn't come overnight. It came later, when experts confirmed the error, when grading services authenticated it, and when deep-pocketed collectors realized just how scarce it truly was. And suddenly, a coin once worth 1 cent became a six-figure asset, with recent market discussions pushing values as high as $734,000. Here's a quick pattern interrupt for you. Be honest, how many pennies are in your house right now? 10? 100? 1,000? Somewhere in those piles could be a coin that silently outperforms years of traditional investing. Funny how the smallest denomination can carry the biggest surprise, isn't it? As demand grew, so did urgency. Serious collectors don't wait. They know that once a rare error coin is widely recognized, availability collapses. Coins disappear into private collections, vaults, and estates. Prices don't politely climb. They leap. And the 1997 D. Lincoln penny error has become one of those coins that experienced numismatists whisper about, not because it's old, but because it's dangerously undervalued for how rare it truly is, and this is where your story intersects with this coin story. If you're watching this, you're not here by accident. You understand that wealth doesn't always come from working harder, it comes from seeing what others ignore. The people who build powerful financial legacies are the ones who act before the crowd, not after the headlines. The current market value surrounding the 1997 D-era penny isn't driven by hype alone. It's driven by scarcity, verified demand, and a generation of collectors with money who are actively searching for tangible assets that can't be printed, duplicated, or inflated away. Here's the urgency you need to hear clearly: coins like this do not wait forever. The market is moving. Awareness is spreading. Every year, more examples are discovered, authenticated, and locked away. And every year, fewer remain in circulation. That window, the one where an everyday American can still find extraordinary value in ordinary change, is closing faster than most people realize. So tonight, when you open that drawer, that jar, that old coffee can filled with pennies, don't see clutter. See potential. See legacy. See the possibility that history may already be sitting in your hands. Because for those who recognize the significance of the 1997 D. Lincoln penny error, this isn't about luck. It's about preparation meeting opportunity. Imagine this for a moment. Somewhere in America tonight, a penny is sitting quietly in a drawer, a coffee jar, maybe even in your pocket right now. It looks ordinary. It feels ordinary. And yet, this single 1-cent coin carries a hidden story so powerful that collectors are paying up to $784,000 to own it. Not a gold bar. Not a stock certificate. A penny. And that fact alone should stop you in your tracks. Because if you've ever dismissed loose change as worthless, tonight might be the night everything changes. This is not a fantasy. This is not internet hype. This is the real story of the 1998 Lincoln 1-cent coin with no mint mark, a coin born from a rare production anomaly that slipped past the U.S. Mint's strict quality controls and quietly entered circulation. No headlines. No warning. Just history hiding in plain sight. And here's the uncomfortable truth: many people already had this coin, and spent it. Don't let that be you. Let's step back for a moment. In 1998, the United States Mint was producing billions of pennies. Machines were running non-stop. Human oversight was stretched thin. And in that environment, something extraordinary happened. A small number of Lincoln pennies were struck without a mint mark, a mistake so rare, so subtle, that even trained eyes missed it. This wasn't supposed to exist. And yet it does. That's what makes collectors lean forward. That's what makes auction rooms go silent. That's what makes prices explode. Now, here's where excitement turns into urgency. Because not all 1998 pennies are valuable. But the right one, the correct strike, the correct condition, the correct error, becomes a financial lightning bolt. One verified example reached a market valuation of $784,000, and serious collectors are still searching. Right now. Today. Not next year. Not someday. Right now. Let me ask you something, and be honest. When was the last time you actually looked at your pennies? Not tossed them aside. Not ignored them. Actually examined them. If your answer is, I don't remember, you're not alone. And that's exactly why these coins are still being found. Hidden wealth doesn't announce itself. It waits for prepared eyes. Here's the emotional shift most people experience. First comes disbelief. There's no way a penny could be worth that. Then curiosity creeps in. What if? And then, fear. Fear of missing out. Fear that the coin you once had is already gone. Fear that opportunity is quietly slipping through your fingers while someone else cashes in. That fear isn't negative. It's a signal. A signal telling you to pay attention, and let's break the tension for just a second, because yes, it sounds crazy. A penny worth more than most homes. Lincoln himself would probably raise an eyebrow. But the numismatic market doesn't care about common sense. It cares about rarity, condition, demand, and story. And this coin has all four in overwhelming supply. The demand is real. Elite collectors, private investors, and high-net-worth individuals are actively acquiring rare U.S. error coins as alternative assets. Why? Because coins like this are finite. No more will ever be made. No mint can reproduce a historical mistake. Once they're gone forever. That scarcity fuels competition. Competition fuels price. And price fuels opportunity. For sellers who know what they have, this is where authority matters. This isn't about guessing or gambling. This is about verification, grading, and market timing. People who profit in this space don't rely on luck, they rely on knowledge. They understand that condition matters. That provenance matters. That one microscopic detail can mean the difference between face value and generational wealth. And that's why the smart move isn't selling fast, it's selling right. Picture the lifestyle shift for a moment. A single discovery paying off debt. Funding retirement early. Traveling without checking bank balances. Helping family. Leaving a legacy. This isn't greed, it's preparation meeting opportunity. And opportunities like this do not knock twice. That we are living in a moment where information is abundant, but action is rare. Most people will watch this, feel a spark, and do nothing. A few will pause. Look. Verify. And change their financial trajectory. The market doesn't reward everyone, it rewards the aware. So here's the final thought to sit with. The 1998 no-mint mark Lincoln penny doesn't care who you are. It doesn't care about your background, your education, or your bank account. It rewards only one thing, attention. And right now, attention is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Imagine this for a moment. Somewhere in America, right now, a small brown penny is sitting quietly in a drawer, a jar, maybe even your pocket. It looks ordinary. It feels ordinary. And yet, collectors have paid as much as $764,000 for one just like it. Not gold. Not silver. A single 2015 Lincoln 1-cent coin with no mint mark and a rare error. Here's the unsettling question that keeps professional coin dealers awake at night: what if you've already owned one, and never knew it? Stay with me, because the next few minutes could change how you look at every penny you've ever touched. This story begins the same way most life-changing stories do, quietly. In 2015, millions of Lincoln pennies were struck and released into circulation. They were spent on coffee, dropped into couch cushions, ignored at checkout counters. But hidden among them were a microscopic number of coins struck with unintentional minting errors, the kind that only happen when machines misalign, dies wear out, or quality control misses something rare. And when a coin escapes into circulation carrying an error that was never meant to exist, it becomes something else entirely. It stops being currency. It becomes history. It becomes scarcity. And scarcity, in America's collector market, creates serious money. Now here's where the fear creeps in, and it should. Most people assume valuable coins are ancient, centuries old, or locked away in museums. That assumption has cost Americans millions of dollars. Because modern-era coins, especially Lincoln cents, are among the most aggressively hunted assets in the numismatic world today. Why? Because they can still be found. That means someone else might discover the coin you overlooked yesterday. Someone else might turn pocket change into a retirement-level payout while you're still telling yourself, it's just a penny. And let me ask you this, have pennies ever paid your bills before? No. Well, not until collectors entered the picture. As demand for rare U.S. coins surged over the past decade, one particular category exploded: modern Lincoln cent errors with no mint mark. The 2015 issue sits at the center of that demand. Coins with specific striking anomalies, such as double dies, off-center strikes, die breaks, or transitional metal errors, have drawn intense attention from high-end buyers, investors, and registry collectors competing for bragging rights. When one of these coins appears with the right combination of condition, rarity, and authentication, bidding doesn't rise slowly. It leaps. It shocks. It makes headlines. That's how a humble penny ends up discussed in the same sentence as six-figure wealth. Let's pause for a second, because this is where most people laugh and say, "Come on, a penny." That's the pattern interrupt. That disbelief is exactly why opportunities like this still exist. Every major collector fortune started when someone else laughed first. The truth is, collectors don't buy coins for what they are, they buy them for what they represent. Perfection inside imperfection. Mistakes the system never meant to release. And once the supply is known, it never grows. No reprints. No second chances. That's why urgency matters here. Once the market locks onto a specific error variety, prices don't drift upward. They jump. This brings us to the turning point of the story, the moment when awareness becomes action. A verified 2015 no-mint mark Lincoln cent with a documented major error and top-tier grading has been reported at values reaching hundreds of thousands of dollars, with elite specimens approaching the $764,000 range depending on condition, provenance, and demand cycles. That number isn't accidental. It reflects a perfect storm: modern scarcity, fierce competition, and an aging collector base willing to pay aggressively to secure final pieces for legacy collections. These are not impulse buyers. These are people who understand timing, and they're buying now. Here's the exciting part, and also the dangerous part if ignored. These coins don't announce themselves. They don't glow. They don't feel heavier in your hand. They wait to be recognized. And every year that passes, more are permanently removed from circulation as collectors lock them away. That shrinks supply even further. So if you've ever saved pennies, inherited jars of coins, or set aside rolls from banks thinking, "One day I'll check these," that day has arrived. Because the market doesn't reward hesitation. It rewards awareness paired with decisive movement. Be why the final act of this story, the question is no longer whether rare pennies exist. The question is whether you'll position yourself as someone who recognizes opportunity, or someone who watches others cash it in. Wealth rarely arrives loudly. Sometimes it whispers from the bottom of a drawer. And the people who live financially free lifestyles didn't stumble into luck, they paid attention when others didn't. They took what looked small and understood its potential before the crowd did. So the next time you see a 2015 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, don't dismiss it. Don't laugh it off. Don't spend it without looking twice. Because in a collector's market driven by scarcity, competition, and emotion, that tiny coin could represent something far larger, a moment when you chose curiosity over habit, awareness over assumption, and possibility over doubt. And in today's high-demand rare coin market, that choice can be worth far more than 1 cent.